Hello everyone, my name is Nick Campbell. Welcome to the Tao of Nick. It's a pleasure to have you all here today as we discuss the power of words and how they have affected my life. The first thing I want to get into is defining what these words I'm referring to will be. And I think they come on three major levels for me. The first one being sort of the internal monologue. The second being anything that comes flying out of my mouth. And the third one is sort of the written word. A few years ago, I really had a hard time understanding why things would fall apart. What was going on? What was going wrong? Why was there always a problem? Why could I never get any traction in life? Why was I always stuck? Why is it the same old song and dance for Nick? Why is this always happening to me? Why is that always happening to me? Why can't I hope you see where I'm kind of going with this. Now, I didn't always say those words out loud. Oftentimes, that was some of that inner monologue. I found that there's sort of that subconscious level I'm really not aware of, as well as the conscious level that I'm more aware of in reference to what I'm thinking. Right from the get-go in most situations, even from the very subconscious, I could say that there were negative thoughts and words racing through my mind all the time. Those led to the words that I kind of thought to myself. Before I even understood what was happening, I would think to myself, so-and-so has a bad attitude. So-and-so is not doing something right. My car is a piece of crap. My clothes are garbage. My body is just ridiculous and disgusting. These were things I was telling myself in my head. Now, in my mind, this is all happening. So you can imagine the kind of things that I would say. I wasn't the rudest person in the world. I wasn't outwardly negative to everyone all the time. But it happened frequently enough that eventually my whole speech pattern started to change. Instead of talking about the uplifting pieces of life, because I would think about them and I would feel them, I would only talk about what happened negatively. Negative. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody can be around that forever. Not when Nick acts like that. And if I were to go back and take a look at my journals, if I were to go back and look at the things that I wrote out, I would probably be pretty devastated today. I always told myself I was trying to get them out. But what was happening, I would think negative thoughts, I would say negative things, and then I would write negative comments. It was depressing. That really affected who I became. I don't know, maybe you believe in this, maybe you don't. I thought negatively, I spoke negatively, I acted negatively, and then I felt negative. It almost became a physical thing. But when I feel happy and I'm doing joyous things, it's almost like the pain doesn't exist and I feel better. The tough part is to kind of identify when things changed. It wasn't a quick process. There are some key moments in my life that caused drastic improvement, and I can pinpoint them sometimes to the day, sometimes to the hour, but most of the time it's sort of this gradual build. So at some point I found a new awareness, and that new awareness was a tricky tightrope to walk. I had to recognize I was being negative without continuing to be negative. And I did that by finding awareness and then lying to myself. I had to tell myself something different, that I was on the path that I wanted to be on. Because my life did not look like what you're seeing now. There was no way that I could have gotten in front of a camera, edited a video. It was impossible at that time. But I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, I'm telling myself these negative things all the time. And even if I'm not speaking about me, even if I'm speaking about somebody else, what good did it do? None. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to fall into the problems that I was falling into. My personal depression or my anger, my fear. It's hard for me to face those things. It's hard for me to recognize that what I'm doing at that time was bad for me. The words, the story that I was telling myself was one of failure and regret. The story I want to tell myself now is one of success and joy, is one of a future. The lies that I would tell myself started out both big and small. I had to get control of what I was thinking, saying, whatever, to myself. So that way the words that started coming out of my mouth could be something positive. If I had recorded myself a few years ago, this in every video would probably start out real great. And then you could see myself slowly sink back into the problems that I was having. But now I can stay afloat. I can look at you and tell you that I love myself. And the things that I had to do for me was interrupting negative thoughts. That's a huge one. When I caught myself feeling some type of way, I had to stop myself. I had to physically change, sometimes move around, clap my hands, whatever the case may be, to trigger that something was about to change. And then I had to lie. I had to tell myself the exact opposite of what the problem was. So if I was feeling depressed and lonely, whoa, stop, start over. Nick, get up and do anything. Anything at all. Prove to yourself you can, and then you can move forward. So, you'll see this all the time on social media, especially, a 30-day challenge. I did those, and they were great. I believe I was watching a documentary, and if you know what it is, leave a comment down below. I just remember a female doctor talking about writing prescriptions, and people would come in and ask for antidepressants or this or whatever they needed. And she always wanted to write a prescription for, take this 2 times a day. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself 2 times a day, 30 days. Then come back to me and tell me how you feel. I did that. I lived that. And the other side of that was incredible. Now, I fell back into my old negative ways time and time again, but it sparked something in me. It made that mountain just a little bit smaller. Everything I was doing after that was taking this mountain, and as it got smaller and smaller, the sun, the sky, it all became visible again. This is, of course, metaphor, but when I was down so low, when I had dug myself deep into the hole or built up that mountain of problems in front of me, that's all I could ever see. But there was so much more world out there. So yes, I still dig myself into a hole. I still will make a mountain out of a molehill. I don't do that every day anymore, but it happens. I have my negative days and weeks. I don't record every day, but if I did, some of these videos would be pretty rough for you to get through. They'd be hard for me to share too, but that's besides the point. I started these affirmations, right? I started that awareness. I started changing little things. I started to be able to see the sky, see the bright sun of my future again. The light at the end of the tunnel was suddenly getting bigger for the first time when previously it was just getting further and further away, smaller and smaller and smaller. The power of words, indescribable. The person I was and the person I am today, I sound the same. I look the same. I'm basically the same, but the difference are the words that I use. The Tao of Nick and the Nick Campbell sitting before you, it couldn't have happened if I did not recognize the power of my words. If you would like to speak to yourself a little bit different, if you would like to change that inner monologue, I bet you can.